Well, it has been a week of rapid escalation between the US and Venezuela, and we've been bringing it to you every day here on the show. Amid the Trump administration's, of course, war on drug cartels. Today, the US announced it's sending 10 fighter jets to Puerto Rico as it looks to bolster its presence in the region. On Thursday, 2 Venezuelan military aircraft flew near a US Navy vessel in international waters, in a move the Pentagon's calling highly provocative. And that same day, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, quote, there is a possibility, if you remember, of stationing US military personnel in Ecuador. And these latest movements and developments come after US strike on a Venezuelan speedboat that the Trump administration claims was carrying drugs that killed 11 people. And that happened on Tuesday. Meanwhile, sources say the Pentagon abruptly cancelled classified briefings on the deadly strike that was scheduled for today.
What started as a routine U.S. Navy patrols in the Caribbean suddenly turned into a high-stakes showdown when Venezuelan fighter jets closed in on an American warship. On the surface, it looked like a bold move by Nicolas Maduro, a stunt meant to project strength. In reality, it was a reckless gamble against one of the most powerful military forces on Earth. And as we'll show you, it didn't take long for America to remind Venezuela where the balance of power really stands. To understand why this confrontation unfolded, you need the bigger picture. In late August, the U.S. Navy deployed a flotilla of warships to the southern Caribbean as part of President Trump's intensified campaign against the cartels funneling narcotics into America. These weren't symbolic maneuvers. They were real operations designed to strike the cartels at their source. Then, on September 2nd, came the moment that changed everything. Acting on the president's direct orders, American forces carried out a precision strike on a cartel vessel operating in international waters. The target was linked to the Tren de Aragua network, a criminal syndicate with deep ties to Maduro's regime. The vessel was destroyed. 11 narco-terrorists were killed, and not a single American was harmed. Trump himself announced the mission on Truth Social, calling it a notice to every cartel in the hemisphere. America will act decisively, and anyone moving drugs towards the United States is now a target. Secretary of State Marco Rubio made the message even clearer, warning that more strikes were possible, maybe already underway. That show of force sent shockwaves through Caracas, leaving Maduro boxed in and searching for a way to save face. The U.S. Navy wasn't in Venezuelan waters. It wasn't provoking and wasn't grandstanding. These were standard freedom of navigation patrols, something America has done for decades to keep international waters open and secure. Our warships were carrying out routine operations, projecting stability in a region that's seen its share of chaos. On the other side, Maduro's regime has been desperate to show strength. His economy is in freefall, oil production has collapsed, and his hold on power depends more on intimidation than leadership. So, when American vessels appeared nearby, Caracas saw a chance to posture for the cameras. Venezuelan jets were scrambled, roaring out as if they were about to put the U.S. in its place. But here's the reality. They weren't facing a second-rate power. They were locking onto a navy that operates the most advanced radar, missile defense, and electronic warfare systems in the world. What Maduro framed as a show of force was in reality a dangerous stunt, one that could have ended very badly for his pilots. As the Venezuelan jets closed in, U.S. Navy radar operators were already tracking every move. The pilots thought they were sneaking up on the American vessel. But the truth is, our systems had tagged them from the moment they lifted off that runway. The warship's Combat Information Center calmly monitored their approach, ready with multiple layers of defense, from surface-to-air missiles to electronic jamming that could blind the jets in an instant. What happened next showed the difference between reckless aggression and professional discipline. Instead of panicking, the U.S. crew followed protocol. Warnings were broadcast, letting the Venezuelan pilots know they were locked in radar range and flying too close. The Americans held their ground with confidence, sending a very clear message. We see you, we're ready, and you don't want to push this any further. For a moment, the world watched two very different forces face off, one desperate for attention, the other projecting unmatched power. And just like that, the Venezuelan jets had a choice: escalate into a fight they couldn't possibly win, or back off before they sparked an international crisis.
What happens if Venezuela flies jets over U.S. naval vessels again?
Well, I would say they're going to be in trouble. We'll let them know about that. We heard that happen, but it wasn't really over, not like they described. But I would say, General, if they do that, you have a choice of doing anything you want, okay? If they fly in a dangerous position, I would say that you can, you or your captains can make the decision as to what they want to do, all right? Sure. Say it.
How close did they get? You said the planes did not.
Well, I don't want to talk about that, but if they do put us in a dangerous position, they'll be shut down.
The Maduro regime is pushing back today. In fact, they say the U.S. seeks regime change through military threat. Your reaction to those words, and also, would you like to see regime change in Venezuela?
Well, we're not talking about that, but we are talking about the fact that you had an election which was a very strange election, to put it mildly. I'm being very nice when I say that. I can only say that billions of dollars of drugs are pouring into our country from Venezuela. The prisons of Venezuela have been opened up to our country. They've taken their prisoners, the worst prisoners, murderers, Tren de Aragua. The worst prisoners that you can ever imagine are now happily living in the United States of America. And when I see boats coming in, like loaded up the other day with all sorts of drugs, probably fentanyl mostly, but all sorts of drugs, we're going to take them out. And if people want to have fun going on the high seas or the low seas, they're going to be in trouble.
After the flyovers, the Venezuelan jets returned to base without incident. But the message had already been sent, and it wasn't the one Maduro hoped for. The United States made its position unmistakably clear. The Department of Defense released a statement calling the maneuver highly provocative, emphasizing that any attempt to interfere with American counter-narcotics operations would be met decisively. President Trump did not mince words. Speaking publicly, he warned that any future attempts to put U.S. forces in a dangerous position would carry severe consequences, adding that pilots and commanders would have the authority to act immediately if threatened. Within 24 hours, the U.S. reinforced its presence in the region, sending 10 F-35 Lightning II jets to Puerto Rico. These are not just any fighters. They are the most advanced aircraft in the world, with stealth, speed, and firepower far beyond anything Maduro could field. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. Two aging F-16s from a nation struggling under sanctions and economic collapse, flying a risky stunt, versus America's most elite pilots, flying machines designed to dominate the skies. The lesson was obvious. Venezuelan show of force was ineffective, and the U.S. will not be intimidated. This confrontation also sent a signal beyond the battlefield. It reinforced that America remains unmatched military power in the Western Hemisphere, and that any aggressive moves near U.S. forces are met with precision, strength, and resolve. The F-16 stunt wasn't just a fleeting headline. It underscored a deeper reality. Maduro's regime is under immense pressure, both at home and abroad. The U.S. isn't just watching. It's taking action on multiple fronts, from military operations to immigration policy. Just a day before the flyover, the Department of Homeland Security announced the termination of temporary protected status for Venezuelans in the U.S., signaling that the Trump administration is serious about enforcing its policies and holding the Maduro regime accountable. Beyond policy moves, the U.S. is systematically targeting the cartels that prop up Maduro's power. President Trump made it clear the cartels are in the crosshairs. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed that operations will continue wherever these narcotic traffickers operate, inside Venezuela or across international waters.
Venezuela, can you give us a sense of what the U.S. policy or what you're trying to achieve? And also the boat that you mentioned yesterday where 11 people were killed. What was found on that boat and why were the men killed instead of taken?
On the boat, you had massive amounts of drugs. We have tapes of them speaking. It was massive amounts of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And everybody fully understands that. In fact, you see it. You see the bags of drugs all over the boat. And they were hit, obviously. They won't be doing it again. And I think a lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape. They're going to say, let's not do this. We have to protect our country, and we're going to. Venezuela's been a very bad actor. They've been, as you know, they've been sending millions of people into our country, many of them Tren de Aragua, some of the worst gangs, some of the worst people anywhere in the world in terms of gangs. We are paying a big price as a country for the incompetence of the Biden administration. But think of it, opened up prisons, drug dealers, drug lords, everything coming out of Venezuela, they said, and we said, we're not going to put up with it anymore. So Venezuela's been one of the worst actors in the whole group, and we have a group of pretty bad actors.
Are you wanting this?
Every strike, every patrol, every warning broadcast serves a purpose: to destabilize the criminal networks and pressure Maduro's regime from every angle. For Maduro, the operations are shrinking. Militarily, Venezuela can no longer challenge U.S. forces directly. Politically, he faces mounting pressure from within and outside his own borders. Economically, sanctions and the collapse of his country's infrastructure leave him vulnerable. Maduro didn't stay idle after the F-16 flyovers. He ordered thousands of troops to Venezuela's coastal states, aiming to patrol known drug routes from Zulia to Falcon, and even deploying forces to Sucre, Delta Amacuro, and Nueva Esparta. Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Petrino claimed that the country could handle the threat itself, but the reality is stark. Maduro's forces are overextended, under-equipped, and outmatched by American technology and training. Even with China as a financial backer, investing billions of dollars over the years, Caracas has no way to compete militarily. Beijing may issue statements, but it won't risk full-scale confrontation with the United States. Meanwhile, America continues to project overwhelming strength. The Navy remains on patrol, F-35s patrol the skies, and Trump has made it unmistakably clear: any aggressive move by Maduro or the cartels will be met with precision and decisive action. The lesson is simple: Venezuela's stunts won't intimidate the U.S. power machine. America dominates the battlefield on every front: air, sea, and land. Maduro may try to posture, but he's playing in a league far above his weight class. For viewers watching, the message is clear. In the Caribbean, U.S. military supremacy is absolute, and any challenge is not only futile, it's dangerous.